Hey guys, LC Holt here, and this is my update for the week of December the 17th. As you guys know, I love talking to my colleagues in the horror field, and tonight is no exception. The movie Terrifier, the man behind Art the Clown's sadistic smile, is here with me, my good buddy, David Howard Thornton. How you doing tonight, David?
I'm doing good as best as I can. Recovering from a cold right now, but what can you do?
Yeah, man. We were talking about that before, but it always hits you at the worst possible time.
It does. It does. 'Tis the season for the sneezing.
Now, when we first met, it's been a while now at this point, but we did a convention together in Bastrop, Texas.
Yeah.
And when I was there, we talked quite a bit. And one of the things that I learned was that you and I have more in common than just having been murderers in horror movies.
Exactly.
You and I are both from the great state of Alabama originally.
Originally, yes.
But let's talk about that, because I think people might like to know how two Alabama boys wound up doing this sort of thing for a living.
I know, it's weird, isn't it?
I mean, how many people told you growing up, like, you're from Alabama, there's no way you could ever be in movies?
Oh, exactly. Especially like me, especially for a horror film. I mean, I grew up especially in the Methodist community in my hometown. I grew up Methodist, and so it was like everyth's so wholesome and sweet, and I'm like, oh, now I kill people for a living. So I was like, yay.
Now, how many of your old Methodist pals have seen Terrifier? Because not only do you kill people, but you really kill people.
I kill people dead. Yeah, I know quite a few have. I still don't know if my dad has actually seen it yet. I'm surprised, but I think he's nervous. I don't know, but I know my sister has, and she lives in a group home down in Alabama, and it's a very, very Christian group home too. So I'm like, oh boy, they're not gonna look at me differently now.
Yeah.
She got back to me. She's like, yeah, so there was a lot of blood. I'm like, yeah, there was. She's like, well, I'm proud of you. I'm like, well, thank you.
Well, how did you start? Did you start out acting in school, or?
Yeah, I really actually, oddly enough, I started out doing like church theater of all things, because like my parents were very involved in it. My mom used to direct a lot of the shows at my church, and then I was like really shy when I got to middle school, and I got bullied a lot and stuff like that because I was stereotypical nerd. I was like short. I was like 5'2", maybe 3 at that point in 8th grade. Had like braces, glasses, skinny as a rail. Hadn't hit puberty yet, so I was still boy soprano. Easy target. Sucked at sports. So I was like, yeah, in the South, everything is about football. So it's like, oh, there's something not right with that boy there. And so, I was like, I got bullied a lot, and, but at home, I was always joking around, doing crazy characters and stuff like that. My mom's like, has anybody ever seen you like this at school? You're hilarious here. And I was like that at church too. It's like, but no one ever sees you like this at school. I'm like, no, I never had an opportunity to. And it was like, my choir director that year, we did Mickey's Christmas Carol, and she cast me in the role as Bob Cratchit / Mickey Mouse in that. And that's when I discovered how much fun I could have on stage with doing comedy and stuff like that. I had like a little bit of comic routines into what was going on stage, mishaps and stuff like that would happen. We had fun with it. I was like, and I discovered I had all these people that were always laughing at me, laughing with me instead. And I'm like, this is magical. I like this. I want more of this. And so my mom's like, why don't you just get like involved with the local community theater? And that's what I did. And it took me a few times to audition before I finally got cast in my first show. It was a children's production of Rapunzel, where I played the magic stone. I was an offstage voice, but I voiced this magic rock. That was my start, and it just snowballed from there. And then went to college. Actually, didn't get a degree in theater. I got a degree in teaching because I was trying to be practical with my life. And I lost my mom to cancer when I was late in my years there at Montevallo, and that kind of changed how I like looked at life. I was like, oh, well, you know, we had like our final conversation together where she's like, you know, don't do what you think you have to do with your life. Do what you want to do with your life, because you know, this is the only chance you get at this. Live your life, have fun, enjoy it. Don't live with any regrets. And I'm like, huh, okay. And I was in my internship, and I was like, you know, I discovered I was getting more fulfillment out of entertaining my students as opposed to teaching them. I was like, huh, I think I want to do this instead. And so I called my dad up. I thought he was going to give me a big, huge speech about, you know, oh, you know, acting, you got to be, that's, you know, probably not going to make anything acting. You have a career that you could make a, you know, consistent living with for the rest of your life. Why don't you stick with this? You put all this time, effort. And she's like, no. Your mom and I always thought that's what you want, that's what you need to do with your life. So yeah, we just didn't want to tell you what to do with your life. So go ahead and do it. You have my blessing. I'm like, whoa, okay, wow. I had a speech prepared and everything. So after that, I took some time to raise some money and did a lot of shows there in Huntsville. And then once I had enough raised, I moved up to New York, and the rest has been history.
How old were you when you moved to New York?
I was 26.
Okay. So you were, and when you moved to New York, was it just straight to finding an agent, or did you do plays?
Yeah. I came up here and I started working at Bubba Gump Shrimp Company of all places. The fourth ring of hell. But I just went around and started auditioning. I took a lot of voiceover classes, and I eventually I did this for about a year and a half, 2 years. I did this off-Broadway rock opera. And through that, I met my best friend who introduced me to his manager at the time. And that's how I got my first manager and first agent and everything like that. And just started going from there.
Yeah, that's well, it's interesting that a lot of the things that you mentioned there are very familiar to me, because I did have parents who were very supportive.
Yeah.
Of and that's a lot can be said for that, especially when you're kind of a weirdo kid like I was, and who liked horror movies and wanted to be an actor and stuff.
Yeah.
It's a lot can be said for that. How long were you in New York before you started landing film gigs?
I would say about 9 years. It had been about 9 years. Yeah. Is that right? Let me do this. Yeah, okay. Math hard. Yeah, 9 years. Yeah, because I did for a while there. I toured with How the Grinch Stole Christmas the musical for about 5 years. So I was really, when I came here, I was trying to focus more on stage and voiceover, and I did that, and then Terrifier fell in my lap, and I'm like, oh, cool, film. Okay, sure, I'll give this a shot.
So how did Terrifier come about? Now, we should probably say that Terrifier was originally a part of an anthology, correct? That Damien directed, and that was called All Hallows Eve?
Yes, All Hallows Eve. Yeah, that was that, and there was also a short film called The Ninth Circle that actually had a little segment, I think Terrifier was in that too, but it was a different movie. It was just the same title, but different movie. But that's where the character of Art the Clown first got seen, and it was the original actor was Mike Gianelli, did a fantastic job with the role. Did absolutely fantastic job. He was a friend of directors, and they just had fun doing it. But Art wasn't intended to be the main character of the movie. He was just one of these characters that they just had in the movies. But the fans loved him so much that they wanted a full movie. And so in 2015, that's when they decided to make Terrifier into a full full feature-length film, all about Art the Clown.
Yeah, and it has proven to be an incredibly great decision, because it is a very iconic role. You look at that character and you think, wow. I mean, it's such a visually striking character, and any sort of
Yeah,
killer who is iconic always has to have some sort of a visually striking quality.
I
Um,
totally agree.
and so, did you audition for the movie, or?
I did, yes. I came across. I had seen All Hallows Eve before I saw the audition notice, and at that time, I think I had, yeah, I had just gotten back from touring with Grinch, and I decided to take a few months off just to audition before going back into waiting tables again, because I just really wanted to focus on auditioning. And I was near the end of my rope because I had just auditioned and auditioned and auditioned and auditioned, and nothing was sticking. And then I saw the casting notice for Terrifier, and they're looking for a tall, skinny guy that had clowning or physical comedy experience for the quote unquote role of a lifetime. And I'm like, yeah, that. And I was like, oh, Art the Clown, yeah, I know this character. Oh yeah, I could totally do this. So I, contacted my agents. I'm like, please submit me. I know I can nail this one. I know it. And they got me the audition, and like the rest is history. It was probably one of the most interesting auditions I've ever had. I think I posted. They actually posted my audition a few weeks ago, and it was total improv. I had no script when I went in there, and they just threw this scene at me. They're like, okay, come up with a scene where you decapitate a guy and go. And I'm like, oh, okay. And that's what came out, what I did in that audition. It's just off the top of my head, which I think shows the importance for every actor to learn like improv skills, because you never know when you be put in those kind of situations. And that's what saved my life basically right there. It's like, that's how I got the roles, because I could just improv off the top of my head like that and come up with a absolute crazy scene. I think I'm like, what's going on in my head?
Well, that's what people tend to ask. I mean, I get asked that kind of question. Like, 'cause when people meet, I'm sure you've had this and I've had this. They really think that you must be insane.
Yeah,
you have to be. And it's like, I think this is something coming from my experience as an actor, and I would like to know kind of your take on it. Do you think it helps to have been kind of marginalized when it comes to playing these sorts of roles? Do you think pinning up that sort of anger or being feeling the sense of alienation in life pays off in the end when you have to take on the role of a killer in a movie?
I guess so, in a weird way, because I internalized a lot of stuff growing up with a lot of the bullying I had undertook, and I also noticed a lot about those same people that bullied me. And I'm a human sponge. I'm always just watching people and like just taking little bits and pieces from people and putting them into like my head, into my little Rolodex I have up there in my brain. And I think part of that did stick with me, is like some of the just sadistic things that people would do, and like how these people would bully me. They got joy out of it. And that's how I kind of put a little bit of that into Art, because he gets this sadistic joy out of tormenting people.
Yeah, and man does he torment people. It was I rewatched I rewatched the movie last night before our chat, and man, it was so much fun. It's you laugh, and there are a lot of moments. It's like, whoa, geez, yeah. that's. But it's a fun movie, and I can completely understand why so many genre fans have taken to it, because it just is such a ride.
Oh yeah.
You had to have known it was going to be that much fun to watch when you were making it?
Oh yeah, because we had fun making it. I mean, there was like the scene where I whip out the gun. I was having so much fun. I was like, woo! And I went back and watched. I was like, oh my god, it looks so badass. That's awesome.
Now, I got to ask you about, because I think I told you this privately, but I will tell you this publicly, I think, for the first time. But I want to ask you first about it being a makeup role.
Yeah.
What was it like for you doing a role with such extensive makeup? Was it extensive? Was it hard to put on?
Yeah, it took about 4 hours to put all that on. it sometimes it'd take longer because Damien, my director, was also doing my makeup. So he would sometimes have to do some of my makeup and then go set up a shot, come back and do more makeup, then go film a shot. And I mean, I remember like 1 or 2 nights I got in the chair about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I didn't get out of the chair until midnight. And then I had a film for about 6-7 hours. So it's like, whew, it was a long process. But I mean, like the makeup itself, it wasn't too bad. I mean, it's just, you know, like mask that's molded to my face that he just glued everything on, and that's like the long tedious part of is gluing everything on and then having to paint it all. I said probably the worst part of it was the contact lenses as anything, but you know, I'm just one of these people. I don't like things in my eyes, and so I'm like, okay, we'll do the contacts last. And maybe that and taking it off too, because you had to scrub all that glue off. Like I would find glue like weeks later on the back of my neck, and I'm like, Jesus.
Yeah, that glue, man, it stays for a while. You just keep rubbing, and like little black rolls start to come off. You're like, hey, I filmed that 6 weeks ago.
Yeah, it's like, why am I molting, or this is not
so
good.
Was it a one-piece deal, or were the nose and it was one piece?
Yeah, it was all one huge mask. They did a full mold of my face, and then Damien sculpted the mask off of that, and then made silicone masks off of that. So that made it easier, because that way everything like contoured to my face, so every little expression I could make would register and read. That's what I loved about the material it was made out of. It was very flexible and allowed for that full range of movement. I mean, it got to the point where I would forget that I had the makeup on, because it just felt like it was part of my face.
And that's a very important thing I'm glad that Damien knows that, because a lot of effects people that I've worked, well, I won't say a lot, but there have been a couple of effects people that I've worked with who, you know, it's hard to get them to understand that you have to act through it.
Yeah.
And that he made it flexible for you to emote was a good choice. I didn't know that Damien did all of those effects?
Yeah, he did all the practical effects.
Wow. That is quite, and he directed the movie and wrote it. That's
he's a talented dude.
Impressive. Very impressive. Very impressive.
Yeah, you don't see that very often now.
No, because those effects were extensive. This wasn't just blood.
Oh no, I mean, he did like full body, and like the body I cut in half is like that. He did all that himself, all the heads and stuff like that. I would see him putting each individual piece of hair into these heads, and you know like the scene where I'm stabbing the face in the pizzeria. Like I actually, when we're filming it, I got a little bit giddy, because I realized when we had cut for a second, I realized that underneath like just the basic layer of the skin, there were other layers that he had built into it, like of the muscles and stuff like that. So like when I was stabbing into it, I was like seeing all these muscle ligatures and everything. I was like, dude, this is like really detailed. Yeah. It was amazing. This is amazing. Like no one's really gonna see this in the film, but you went, you know, like you put so many layers to this. It's great.
One of my favorite parts of that is the tongue. Love the tongue.
Oh yeah. Oh, I had fun. I couldn't resist doing that. I had to go play with that some.
Yeah, that was great. Great, nice touch. I wanted to get a couple questions in. I think I might have touched on this before, but Zach Myers, who is my often co-host here, and he is a huge fan of horror, wanted me to ask you, how did you get into the mindset of Art the Clown?
Oh boy, I mean, I didn't have to do any like method acting or anything like that. I didn't have any like Daniel Day-Lewis or Jared Leto moments on set, so don't worry. I mean, basically what I did, I've always been able to turn characters on and off as long as I have an idea of who that character is in my head. I can just turn it on and off. And what I did, I just basically took, you know, at least like what Mike did with his original portrayal of Art. Then I took like my vast database of all these great physical comedians and film actors from the old days, like Chaplin, Keaton, Marx Brothers. even like Rowan Atkinson, Jim Carrey, Doug Jones, and my buddy Stephen Carl. And I blended that with like Freddy Krueger and all these other great horror legends, and I just kind of blended all that in my head, because I looked at it this way, that Art is basically the bastard child of Freddy Krueger and Harpo Marx, and that's what I always keep in my head.
That is, yeah, I can see that completely.
Yeah.
He is sort of like, he's like sadistic Marx. He's the lost brother.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. The Marx brothers just snapped one day. That's what would have happened.
If it was a Star Wars movie, he'd be like Marx Sidious or something.
Yeah, exactly.
But
lightsaber.
But he and the thing about that movie too, and it's difficult. It's actually a lot more difficult than it seems, because Art is an entirely silent role.
Yes.
Even when he screams, it's a silent role.
Yeah. And I
love that touch. I love that Art doesn't even really scream. He just looks like he's screaming, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, that was what was fun about it, because they gave me permissions like to scream or laugh at times. I'm like, I don't want to. I want to keep it as real as I can, at least for myself, and of course for my fellow actors. But I liked having that challenge and trying to actually make it seem like I was screaming without screaming and stuff like that. It was fun. It was fun.
Now, you have also played, because we talked about this in Bastrop, that you played the Joker.
Yes.
And I've seen it. It's very, very good. It's actually a really well-produced fan series about the character of Nightwing.
Yes.
And I wanted to talk to you for a minute about that, because how thrilled were you to play the Joker?
Oh my God. I mean, I basically got cast with both Art and Joker around the same time. So I got cast with these two, like, iconic killer clowns. So I was like, this is fantastic. And they're totally opposite of each other, So it's like, this is great. But like, Joker's my favorite villain of all time. And so I was beyond excited to finally have a chance to play him, because I've always wanted to see what I think is like the comic book version of the character, as much as like as great as like Heath Ledger and Jack Nicholson and even Romero were with the role. They still weren't totally the comic book version as I saw the character being. The closest that I ever saw to that was Mark Hamill's version of it, but you've never seen him do it live action. You've always just heard the voiceover for it. So it's like, I would love to like do a little bit of what Mark brought to the character and put my own spin on it and stuff like that. And finally had a chance to do it. I would really love to do it, especially on like a TV series or something like that too, though. I thought about, a film, that would be great too, but I think a TV series would be a lot more fun, because I could spend more time with the character and developing the character over seasons, and, not just having like 2 hours to show a character. You have like 20 episodes a season to really just build and explore. It's like, that would be great. It's a dream.
I'd love to see the CW do Batman. I know they can't right now because of Gotham.
Yeah,
it would be interesting to see that incorporated in, and because then you really could, like you say, do the Joker as an ongoing thing, which would be fascinating.
Oh, I would love to, and I think they can probably do it, because like this is going to be the last season of Gotham anyway. And they brought in Batwoman into the Elseworlds crossover with all the CW universe stuff. So they showed a little bit Gotham City, and it was like, oh God, let's do this. Let's finally bring in Gotham. Like, do it right.
Yeah, and they've been hinting at Bruce Wayne existing for a long time in the CW universe.
Oh, it would be great. It would be so much fun.
Almost as long as they've been hinting at Hal Jordan.
Oh, exactly. And they even had a little little nod there to Green Lantern in this crossover too, which was kind of neat, where they like Flash from the old John Wesley Shipp, as the Flash comes in and says to John Diggle, "Hey John, I noticed you're not wearing your ring." His universe, that John is the other John from the Green Lantern card. I'm like, that's awesome. It's like,
that is That's pretty ingenious too. I actually really like those CW shows.
I do too. I do, especially Flash and Legends of Tomorrow. I just love because they just have fun with those shows.
Yeah. I'm a huge fan of the Flash. I think it would be fun to play like a villain in an episode of something like that.
God, I would love to. I mean, even if it's not Joker, I would be so happy just to be on one of those shows. It's like the villain of the week. Oh, I'd be happy. I'd be so happy.
Yeah. And you got this. They even brought Mark Hamill back as the Trickster, which I geeked out so badly because I used to love watching that John Wesley Shipp Flash when I was a kid. I just thought it was wild to see the Flash, and that suit looked pretty cool at the time.
Oh,
it still looks cool.
Still looks good.
And he was a really good actor. I've always been fond of his work, even when he was Dawson's dad.
Oh yeah, John's a great guy. I had the privilege of working with him last year on this audio drama called Powder Burns, where it's about a blind sheriff in the Wild West, and he plays the blind sheriff, and I was the villain of the week. So I was this like extremely racist former slave owner coming after my escaped slave or something like that. Even though the Civil War was over, he was just still like, "No, you're mine." It was so cool because we all got to, like record together. So I got to be in the booth with John, and I was like, "This is awesome!" Like we're sharing the same mic, and I'm like, "Oh my god, I'm playing the villain off the Flash right now. This is amazing."
Well, let's talk for a minute because I'm fascinated. I've never done voiceover work myself, but I've known actor friends of mine who do. Let's talk for a minute about that process because it's a pretty involved process.
Oh yeah. It's pretty involved. It's totally different than like what you're probably used to doing because we're used to, like, as actors, used to using our whole body and relying on our facial expressions, our look, all that kind of stuff, in addition to our voice. With voiceover, you only have your voice, and so you have to convey everything through your voice. So it's a bit of a challenge, and you do some things in like voiceover that you would never probably do in film or anything like that. Just the incidental sounds and everything, especially anime. I've discovered a lot of things doing that. Like, oh, this is like the breaths, these little reaction sounds everybody has, like like those little sounds. It's like, oh, this is something you don't see in like American animation, but in the anime you see that a lot. And I was like, oh, I'm having to learn some new skills here.
Now, they show you the sketches of the character you're going to play, or do you just go?
Sometimes it depends on the project. I've had some where I had no idea what the character looked like, and I had nothing to go off of, so I just would record and they would animate later. Other things, like especially with anime, it's already been animated and we're dubbing it, so I would have to like watch the actual animation and match the lip flaps, which is a challenge in itself because you're not able to really play around with the characters much because you have to match up the lip flaps, so you can't put the pauses in that you usually want to put in. That's why a lot of like anime sounds a little bit weird with the acting, because you have these weird pauses or like way the lines are said because they had to act off of what was already there. And of course it's going from Japanese to English, so there's discrepancies there anyway. So it's definitely a lot different than I was used to before, but I adapted to it. I was like, okay, I can do this. I can do this.
So it's sort of it's akin to what we would call ADR in a live action film.
Exactly. Yeah. Like you've seen that bit from Wolverine where he's like running through the forest and you just hear. They showed Hugh Jackman just do the breathing and the panting and the screaming. I'm like, yeah, that's what you have to do a lot in voiceover, and you have to get your body into it too. You can't just stand there or just sit there at a mic and just do stuff. I'm sometimes just sweating buckets in a booth, just jumping around and everything, just trying to get stuff out, especially with like fight scenes and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's something with the ADR that I've done. It is something I can't just sit there either. It's very difficult because you do kind of feel you have to put the world away and just say, I'm not self-conscious at all, and just go for it. Because to an outside observer, you would look kind of like an idiot.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
because you're standing at a mic making 1,000 different or whatever, and it's like, wow.
Yep.
But when you see it, when it's done well, it's like, wow, that's amazing. But like I said, I've never done the voiceover work. I think it would be a lot of fun, actually.
Oh, it's a whole lot of fun. It's very exhausting, though. I mean, I will sometimes leave those sessions and I come home and I just crash because I try to put like 100% of myself into everything I do. So like I usually like to feel tired when I'm done with the session because I'm like, okay, good, I gave it my all. But
Yeah.
it's exhausting, especially like doing fight scenes and stuff like that. I remember like I think it was Invisimals for PlayStation 3. I played all these different animal creatures, and they all had their own sounds. But then we did like the fight sounds, and so you had to do like medium punches, hard punches, light punches, and also getting hit by hard punches or medium punches and light punches, and then all your attacks and all like different attack sounds. And I swear, like if someone was just walking by and they just heard what was going on, they would think there was some kind of porno happening or something like that because you just make all these.
Yeah.
You're like, oh boy, this sounds wrong.
Yeah.
Wrong.
Yeah. I actually was. This is kind of a strange story, but I did this one movie where there had to be, and I was actually on the production side of this particular thing. It was a short film, and there was a sex scene in the film. And the actors were having a difficult time with the simulated sex creating the proper sounds that the director wanted.
Oh no.
And so they were like, well, how could we possibly fix this situation? And I said, well, if you want to, you could just plug in a real porno and just record the sound. And they were like, is that legal? I was like, I don't think so.
Probably not.
And so that's actually what they ended up doing. So I won't say what the movie is, but they got a very inspired sound on that sex scene because it was actually from a real sex scene. I would not recommend people doing that. But
yeah. That's a shame that they couldn't figure out how to recreate the sound themselves. I'm like, that's kind of sad.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, bless their hearts.
It is sad. I've never had that situation as an actor because they always hire me to murder people, never to make love to them. So.
Oh no, I've never had like kiss anybody on screen yet or anything like that or on stage. I'm just like I'm never that character. I'm like, don't have that.
Yeah. Do you think that would be a difficult thing to do, or?
Yeah, probably not. Probably not. But who knows? Why would anybody want to see me like that, though? I don't know.
Well, one of the scenes in Terrifier that was really striking to me, though, was that scene where, I mean, I did not see this coming when I first saw the movie. And you probably know the scene I'm talking about.
Talking about the Buffalo Bill scene?
The Buffalo Bill scene, yeah, which is really one of the more terrifying moments in Terrifier, because you realize in that moment this guy is really cracked if you didn't know it before.
Yeah, it wasn't even written like that originally. It was originally written where I was wearing all that over my clown costume. It was just a few days before we filmed, and Damien's like, we're in the car going to set one day. He's like, I have this crazy thought. Don't hate me, but I was thinking about you doing that scene naked. And I'm like, that poor audience. Like, does anybody want to see me like that? He's like, well, it would be freaky. I'm like, yeah, you're right. That would be a lot freakier. It's like, oh boy. It's like, how's the crew going to feel about that? And I'm like, I realized, I really looked at it this way. It's like, Catherine, who played Dawn in the film, if she could like expose herself the way she did for her infamous scene like that, yeah, I can do the same thing too. So I'm like, you know what? It's for the film. If someone sees my butt, they see my butt. But I think I was like, yeah, I think this will make that scene a whole lot freakier for the audience and stuff like that if they know that I'm like wearing this woman's like skin on top of my skin like that. And people don't realize it's not just the scalp and the boobs I'm wearing. I also cut off her vajayjay and wore that too. So it's just like, yeah. And that actually has a story behind it too, because like that day, Damien like sends me a text. And he's like, "Hey, do you have a cock sock?" And I'm like, "A what?" He's like, "A cock sock." I'm like, "No, am I supposed to?" He's like, just bring a sock with you." I'm like, "Oh, okay." Well, I didn't think about this, and so I showed up on set with this bright white tube sock. He's like, "Oh no, I meant for you to bring a black one." I'm like, "Are you a racist?" I'm like, "Oh, okay." And so we're like, "Oh well, we'll see what we can do. We'll just try to hide as much of that white as we can behind the prosthetic and stuff like that." And it's like, "Oh, that was interesting." Plus, that was also my first night working with Samantha on set. So I'm like, "Hi, this is me. Nice to meet you. These are my boobs.
And this is my vagina."
Yep. And I knew that she was awesome because she was just joking around with me from the get-go. I'm like, okay, we're going to have fun then. We're going to get along just fine. So, yeah.
The interesting thing about that movie is one of the many interesting things about it is script-wise, it almost pulls a bit of a psycho trick.
Yeah.
Because when you're watching the movie, you're pretty much sure that these two girls at the beginning are going to be the main characters.
Exactly.
And for those of you who haven't seen the movie, here comes a spoiler. They actually die halfway through. And at that point, the audience goes, "Oh my God, what's going to happen now?" Because who knows? It could go anywhere.
Yeah.
And that is a pretty ingenious bit of screenwriting on Damien's part. I love who was the actress who played the baby with the doll?
Oh, the baby doll? Or the lady with the doll?
Yeah, the lady with the doll.
Okay, yeah, I was like, yeah, that was a doll. She had her own trailer and everything, but I didn't even have a trailer. What am I talking about? Puya Mashoni, she played our homeless woman.
Yeah, she's great actress.
Oh, she was absolutely fantastic. And I don't even know if I hope, because you never see her actually die per se. So I'm like, I would love to see if we could actually bring her into the sequel or something like that. I don't know, but oh God, like the scene between the two of us in that hallway, I loved doing that with her. She was just so good. She actually had like just tears going down her face, just crying. I'm like, wow, you're good. It's nice having those kind of actors that can give you so much to work with, and I loved it. Absolutely loved working with her. She's such a sweetheart. They're all awesome though.
Now, I have to say this, but you brought it up first. So, is there going to be a Terrifier 2?
Oh yes. I think Damien's almost finally done writing it. Yeah, I think he's got maybe like one or two more scenes to write, and then we're going to, I think, start shopping it to studios. I think because we didn't have studio support last time. It would be nice to have studio behind us this time to give us a much better budget.
Yeah.
And after that, we'll start making it.
Now that is a really stupid question on my part, because of course there would be a Terrifier 2. I mean, it's been such a huge hit. It's got to be really gratifying to see your face. It is your face. You are Art the Clown everywhere.
It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Like a week or so ago, like Damien and our DP George and Phil and we went out to get drinks at this down in Chinatown, where one of our fans did a huge mural on the side of one of the buildings out there. And it was so cool. We got our pictures made in front of the mural and all that. But we all, like, after we had a few drinks in us, we were like just standing out there on the side across the street from just looking at it. And like these girls walked by, and Damien was like, "Hey, I want to find out something." He's like, "Hey, girls, see that mural over there? What do you think of that guy? And they're like, it's scary. Like, it's gross. Oh my god, oh my god. And Damon's like, would you believe that's actually him? They're like, fuck you. And they're like, no, it's not. And I'm like, yes, it is. It's me. No. They just had such an attitude towards us. Like, we just started laughing our heads off. We didn't take any offense to it. We're like, this is great. They had no idea who they were talking to. Like,
yeah.
This is crazy. This is crazy. But yeah, no, it's kind of snowballed more than we expected it to. I was like, we were just making this for the fans of like All Hallows Eve. That's who we made it for, and we hoped it would do well, but we weren't expecting like the reaction it's gotten. By far, is just like this totally surpassed our expectations. So yeah.
Now, was it the when it premiered on Netflix? Is that when it just really took off?
Yeah. I mean, it had done pretty well before then, but yeah, Netflix just got it out to so many more people. I mean, like there was like one day Lily Reinhardt from Riverdale like tweeted a whole thing about it, how she was watching it and loved it. I'm like, holy crap, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I've seen other people as well that have watched it, and they're like famous people too, and I'm like, that's fantastic. I'm like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
Didn't expect that.
Because that's what you make it for, and I'm very happy too for Damien, because seems like this has been his sort of baby for a long time.
Yeah, it's his creation. He did it all, and like he's got a brilliant mind up there. He's a true horror fan. He's literally named after Damien from The Omen. So that's, he's been around this his whole life, and he's like I am. He's gotten tired of seeing like how so many horror films have been just dumbed down recently and like watered down, and like when we went to go see what was that down there in Texas?
Me and you went to go see?
Yeah. What was that?
We went to see Hellfest.
Yeah, Hellfest. It's like, we remarked afterwards how like, yeah, they could have done more with those kills. Just like they talk about disemboweling, this killer disembowels people, and all you see is a little bit of blood when he stabs them, and then it cuts away. It's like, well, come on, show us what you're talking about. Show, don't tell. Mm-hmm. That's what the audience want. That's what they go into those movies for. They want that. They want to have that kind of fun with it. And I think so many people are trying to play it so safe, and that's what Damien decided not to do. He's like, we were filming scenes. He's like, people are going to be so pissed off at us for doing this. I'm like, let them. Good. That means that we're getting a reaction out of them. That's what's important.
Yeah. And nowadays, especially, you have, because I don't know, this is my personal opinion about it, and I'd like to get your take on it too. When we're talking about these sorts of sequels, I can understand the nostalgia.
Yeah.
And I think that is completely justified. But there's something about seeing, even if it's just a one-off film, and even if you don't love it, it's just different, and a director's trying their own thing.
Yeah.
And there have been several movies like that I think haven't gotten enough attention in favor of maybe too much nostalgia.
Yeah.
So whenever something like Terrifier really blows up, I'm actually very, very happy, because that means one more, film might get made.
Yeah.
That tries something new and different, as opposed to, without saying something, a specific title, blank number 17 or whatever. You know what I mean? So, I think it's a very promising thing for the, horror in general, for movies like Terrifier. I could name a couple others, like The Witch or It Follows, or there have been several, actually. Hereditary more recently.
Yeah.
It's nice to see, them get attention, because maybe there is a place for, the Damien Leones and the all these other directors to do their vision, their films, and have, their voice heard.
Exactly.
So yeah, so even if you, I'm not opposed to sequels. Don't get me wrong. One or two sequels is fine.
Just don't go crazy with it. It's like, art in space. No.
Right. Yeah. 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 You don't want exactly Terrifier in space. You don't want to do, or something like that. But I don't think it would ever get to that point because you guys,
No.
you know that that's where franchises die. It's in
Oh
space.
God, yeah. You're just doing it just to make money at that point. You're not doing it for the love of it.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's kind of been wrong with a lot of horror films recently. They're doing it for the money. They're not doing it for like the love of the genre, and you can tell that there's not that love behind it. When you watch it, they just look so just generic,
Right.
boring, dull, and I'm hoping in a way like our film has been able to like give a kick in the butt to the industry in a way. Like, hey, look, like here this little small, low budget indie film has come in, and all these people are going crazy about all the stuff they did in it. I'm hoping that other people are going to realize, like, oh wow, okay, people really responded well to this. Let's bring this back, because they, like I say, like a lot of horror films have been playing it way too safe because they're more concerned about putting butts in seats and making their films more PG-13 than rated R. And that's not what that was always the thrill, at least when we were growing up, was like it was like that forbidden thing that you're not supposed to watch because it's so dangerous and so scary and so horrifying. Oh, it's rated R. Ooh, that made you want to see it more. But when it's PG-13, you're like, oh, that's going to be boring. It's like you don't want to go see a PG-13 horror film. So, no, you want to go in there and see the craziness and all that, the fun and the. So yeah, so I'm hoping that we're, maybe revitalizing the genre in some ways.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think for sure you are, very, very promising, I think. And Damien, is he thinking about doing other kinds of films, or do you think he's going to be like a horror master of horror, shall we say?
I think he's probably going to be more of a master of horror because this is what he loves. This is what he's always been about his whole life. I think he has other types of films in mind right now too. I think he has a vampire film he really wants to do at one point, and not too one of those like sparkly vampires, but they do a really good vampire film. So I'm like, that would be fun. I'd be up for it.
Yeah,
Make
vampires scary again.
Yeah, make them scary again. Not you're like, oh, they're so lovable. No, they're not.
Yeah, we need to get back to you remember that, what was that movie where it was in Alaska and in the darkness?
Oh, yeah, well, 30 Days a Night or whatever that's called.
Yeah.
That was good. That was freaky. Oh God, that was a freaky one.
Yeah, they definitely didn't sparkle in that one.
Oh, no. Like, make him a threat. That's it's just, oof. Well, I've always loved like Nosferatu, just like the old Max Schreck version of it, just like that. It's horrifying. I mean, I can't imagine just coming down a dark alley and just seeing that thing turn around and just like at you. Oh, phew. Yep.
That's one of those pet projects of mine. I've always wanted to play Orlok in a film.
Oh yeah. You can totally see you doing that.
Yeah, I would love to do that. And there was actually a time when this could have happened. It was when me and Adam Wingard were, Adam Wingard, who directed You're Next, and we worked together on Homesick, and did another movie called Popsicle. After Popsicle, there was a time when we were talking about doing a Nosferatu remake, a really interesting one.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm still sort of shepherding it quietly. So maybe one day I'll get to play Orlok. Who knows?
Oh, that would be so much fun. That would be so much fun. I just love playing those kind of creepy characters like that. There's a lot of good physicalities. I think like Doug Jones recently did something with that character as well. I was like, oh, of course.
I saw that. Is it something that's upcoming? Has it already come out?
I think it's upcoming. Yeah, I'll have to ask him more about it when I see him in February. I'm like, I'm so stoked about that. You have no idea.
Now, is this the first time you're meeting Doug?
Yeah. We've already chatted a little bit online and stuff like that, so we already have a rapport going with each other. And I'm like, Doug's always been like a big, huge influence for me. So I'm so excited about finally meeting him. So
yeah, and he is the master.
He really is. He
of those
really,
makeup roles.
oh, he's brought so much innovation to it. He and Andy Serkis, both those two guys, have done so much for, like, especially character actors. They've done so much for those type of roles.
Yeah. Well, man, it's always fun talking shop. I enjoy these sorts of conversations with other actors, and especially actors that I know and have talked to in the past and everything. And so I've had a really fun time. There were a couple other questions here. Ty the Magic Guy, who I know, that's Mr. Packner. How are you, sir? He wants to know: are there any upcoming roles for you?
Not yet. I'm still working on Nightwing. And right now I'm just trying to, like, audition and stuff as much as I can. Hopefully stuff's coming up. I saw they're supposed to be making a Plastic Man movie, so I'm like, I would love to throw my little top hat in the ring for that, because, oh god, that would be a fun role.
Oh man, I want to lobby for you on that, because you would be a perfect Plastic Man.
I appreciate it. I would love to play Plastic Man. That would be fun.
Let's see. We got a couple other questions here. Jason Atkinson. Hey, he says, "Hey, LC Holt." Hey, Jason, I know you. How you doing, buddy?
Yeah.
I think we've already kind of covered this. I like David and Terrifier. He says, "I've never seen All Hallows Eve, and is that what the clown is based on?" We've talked about that earlier. Yeah, the Art the Clown originally appeared in All Hallows Eve, an anthology film done by Damien Leone prior to Terrifier.
Yes.
I shouldn't be answering this. I should have thrown this over to you, David. I'm sorry.
You got it.
But yeah, we talked about that. But thank you for the question, Jason.
Jason.
But yeah, so we've had some interesting questions come in. Let's see if you want to do a couple more, David.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Let's see. We talked about the makeup earlier. What was your favorite scene to film?
Oh, that was the diner scene in the pizzeria. That was just such a fun scene, because you saw so much of who Art is in that one scene. You see his playfulness and his clownish side. Then you also see his just absolute evil and malicious side as well. And then you also see the creepiness of him, like, just staring at the girls. And it was so much fun, because I got to play around a lot in that too, where, like, Damien was like, okay, let's just let you just do whatever, see what happens, let the camera roll. Like, when I was doing all the different facial expressions, I think he got like 5 minutes of footage of me just making faces, because he forgot to yell cut. I just kept on going with faces and faces and faces. So I loved it. I love having those moments where I can just play around and see what comes about.
And that goes back to what we were talking about always being on your toes, ready to improvise.
Yeah, exactly.
We got another question here. Yes, we have talked about there will be a Terrifier sequel, but the question here is how long until it's going to come out?
That I don't know, because we still got to finish writing it. I'm hoping maybe 2020, 2021. I'm thinking, but I like to say I got 2020 vision, but it just depends how quickly we can find backers, and then we can start filming.
Yeah. Well, it will be a lot of fun to see what you guys come up with next, because the first one was so much fun.
Oh yeah,
and the audience loved it so much. Obviously, it's like going to conventions, like you and I did when we first met at a convention, and that's where you really see the impact of what you've done. Is when people you don't know come up to you and say, "Hey, I like you," and you go, "Wow, really?
Thank you."
Yeah. It's a hell of a feeling, isn't it?
Oh, it's so awesome. I love it. I absolutely love those conventions. I used to go to like comic conventions and stuff like that before all this happened. And so it's kind of fun being on the other side of that table now, and it just being able to interact with the fans and stuff like that. I love it. It's absolute blast. Absolute blast.
Yeah. I agree completely. Okay, well, we'll do one more question. Darkness Demon 8. I like that name. Darkness
Demon 8. What do 1 through 7 are like?
Yeah, I think Darkness Demon 8 killed the first 7.
Oh, that makes sense. Obviously.
This one is directed at both of us. Who are your favorite horror icons?
Hmm. Well, definitely Robert Englund by far. I mean, I've brought a lot of Freddy into art, so I would say, yeah, definitely Freddy Krueger. Chucky, because I love the humor there with Chucky as well, and plus it's a great character anyway. God, Brad Dourif did wonders with that role. Um, Leatherface, Mike Myers, all those guys. I even like Jigsaw. I think Jigsaw is an interesting character too, because he doesn't directly kill someone. People actually end up being their own demise, and it's just that he devises these brilliant traps and stuff like that. I love that, and of course, I love the old horror, films as well. Dracula, Frankenstein's monster, Wolfman, all that kind of stuff. I love them all.
That's kind of how I feel. I'm sitting here and I'm trying to think of a horror icon that's. I think you've hit them all. I agree with you on that.
Jason and Mike Myers, they're all great. They're all great. There's something interesting about all of them in a way. And I think that's what makes a good horror icon. Is like, in a weird way, you find them interesting, and in a weird way, you kind of root for them as opposed to their victims. You want to see them. I like see how they take care of it. It's like watching like Roadrunner and Coyote. You kind of root for the coyote the whole entire time when you shouldn't be, but.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see. So I would say, yeah, Robert would probably be mine. I really, as an actor, I really like, because he's like you. He's really great with the fans.
Oh, he really is. He's absolutely fantastic with the fans. Kane's the same way. Kane Hodder's great with the fans too. He's an awesome guy too in real life.
Yeah. Kane is. We have a fun rapport. Me and Kane. We have a love-hate rapport. Yeah. But I like Kane.
Yeah, I got to with him in Chicago, and it was a lot of fun. I was absolutely honored. I was up there with him and Warrington and Jim Winburn. So I was up with like two of the original Jasons and Mike Myers. So I was like, this is awesome. It's like, what an honor to be up with, because like these are the guys I grew up watching and idolizing, and now I'm sharing a stage with them and just just talking shop and just cutting jokes with them. That was awesome. Totally awesome.
Yeah. Let's see. But we're about to wrap this up, but I want to get in. Let's see. Jason says, I'd love to see a Your Next sequel, but I don't think it would work. I don't think there's plans to continue. No, there were plans to continue the story, Jason, but I don't think there will be a Your Next sequel. And Olivia said, say what?
I said, oh, that sucks.
Well, I think there would. I had Simon Barrett, who is the producer and the writer of that movie, on this show. And if you guys watching want to know more about what the Your Next sequel idea was, we actually talked. He talked through the whole thing on that show. So go back and watch the Simon Barrett show. It's real interesting story. But we're going to end on this. Olivia, she wants to know, how do we vote for you for the Fright Meter Awards? You need to win, David.
I know. I have no idea how that works. I didn't even know about this until Damien contacted me the other day. It's like, hey, you're up for a Fright Meter Award. I'm like, what? And I'm like, I'm up against like Nicolas Cage and John Krasinski, and I'm like, are you kidding me?
Hell yeah, that's awesome.
I never imagined I'd have my name up against those guys. I'm like, are you kidding me? I mean, that to me is winning enough. That's amazing to me. I'm like, I'm just honored to have that. As for like how to vote for it, I have no idea. I wish I knew. I guess go to their site if they have a thing you can vote on. I guess do that. But other than that, just keep your fingers crossed for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm going to have my fingers crossed for you, man. That's awesome. And yeah, Olivia, I would say probably Google Fright Meter Awards. That would probably be the easiest way.
Yeah, Damien's also up for best makeup and special effects as well.
And as many jobs as he did, he deserves it, because, man, I'm still reeling that he directed and did all of those effects. That's amazing.
All by himself.
That's great. Well, David, I tell you, I've had a good time here tonight. I hope you've had a good time talking.
I have. Thanks for dealing with me all my decongestants I'm on right now. I'm a little bit woo.
Well, I hope you get the feeling better, and I'm
Oh,
glad. I knew we could muscle through this show together, guys like me and you, a couple Alabama boys.
exactly. We've dealt with harder things down south.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Tornadoes, water moccasins, whatever.
Hurricanes, everything.
Yeah. Well, we didn't really get the hurricanes up in Huntsville as much, but we got the tornadoes all the time.
Yeah. Oh man, where I grew up, man, we would always get the tail end of those hurricanes. It was terrible.
God, ugh, yuck.
But I want to also thank you guys for your great questions and your great comments, and for joining and watching. I hope you're going to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and next week there'll be even more stuff. Again, thanks, David. We should do this again sometime.
I agree. I would love to. Anytime, man. Just let me know.
Sounds good to me. And you guys, until I see you again, make sure to take care of yourselves. See you later.